Director at Fay Business Systems Group, and today I am happy to present alongside with our developer manager, Kyle Lowry, and our account executive, Jake Budekoffer, our first SugarCRM fireside chat, which is essentially a fancy way of saying we're doing a open forum, an open Q&A on all things sugar, and it's meant to be full participation, and we're with our audience, and we're here for you guys. So the flow of it is basically just going to be Jake's going to do a little bit of an intro to some of the people out there who may not know who Fay Business Systems Group is and what we do. And then we'll kick it off with our tip of the day. And as we're going through this, I'd like people to raise hands or type in their chat boxes questions and comments that they may have on anything sugar related. And as they come in, we'll kind of organize them together, and we'll try to address them as they come in. And we will unmute you, so you can speak directly with us, and kind of just have a little discussion going over the next 45 minutes. And then if we have time, and if there's nothing, we've covered everything we kind of wanted to cover, at the end we'll go. Jake will go through kind of a high-level demo of sugar for those of you who may not be familiar with it, who haven't seen it before, or if obviously if you have, then you can feel free to jump off after the open forum. So with that, Jake, I'm going to pass it over to you, and everybody just feel free to start filling in their chats and raising their hands. Jake, I'm passing it to you.
All right, thanks, Jesse. Again, my name is Jake Budekoffer. I'm an account executive with Fay BSG, and Kyle Lowry is our development manager. And as Jesse said, the point of this call is to just talk about sugar, answer any questions, lingering questions you had, any functionality questions you're not sure if it's included out of the box. And so what I'm going to do now is just to go over our quick tip of the day, and hopefully this will generate some thoughts, some questions, and what we're going to do today for our quick tip is to basically show you how to utilize a dependent drop-down inside of sugar. And so just to kind of preface this, a dependent drop-down would be, to use a real-life example, so say you're on an opportunity, and say that depending upon the type of opportunity that you're working on, the stages will be different, depending on the type. And so if you look at this right now and you see the type is existing business, you'll see the opportunity stages have, new in process, verbal, closed won, lost, nurture. If I switch the type to say digital, the stages are now going to open up a whole new statuses or stages for the reps to update. Now this is good because it allows you to have different processes for different workflows or different types of opportunities. And so say if you have digital opportunities and then you have print opportunities, and those opportunities follow a different sales life cycle, then you can easily manage it so that when you select a certain type of the drop-down, then specific values associated to this type pull up. And so what that looks like on the back end is you would see, so this is the opportunity stage field. And so you're using its own drop-down list, and then a lot of people miss this, but there's a little dependent section here. And so you get a couple different options. Today we're going to focus on the parent drop-down. You could also do it based off of formulas, which is a little bit more complex. We can always circle back on that after the demo if you have any questions on it. But today we're going to do on the parent drop-down. And what this is saying is that this field, this drop-down opportunity stage, is dependent upon the opportunity type field. And so what you can do from here is click on Edit Visibility. And then as you can see here, here are all the different sales stages that you have, and you can drag them over to the appropriate type. So this allows you, and as you can see, if it's already used, it'll flag itself as red here, knowing that you don't need to put that value in that section. But basically, it allows you to have different processes for different types of opportunities. And of course, this is just one example. It can be extended to, case management. It can be extended to lead management, account management. An example of how accounts would do it is a lot of our clients, they have an account type, but then they want to have a subtype field. And so this is a way to kind of manage that as well. So that's our quick tip of the day. Hopefully that generates some thought, some question. At this point, we'd probably like to just start fielding some questions, and if we have time at the end, we can always just do a high-level overview of sugar and go from there. So, Jesse, do we have any questions?
We don't have anything yet, Jake, so I'd encourage everyone to, feel free, shoot anything you guys might have, anything simple or complex, and we'll try to get those answered as best as we can. But I know that we have, we've got some stuff lined up here that we can kind of show and talk about. So there's plenty to cover. I know Kyle and Jake both have some stuff prepared that they're happy to share. So I don't know, either Jake or Kyle, do you guys want to kind of cover some of the tips and tricks or other things that you guys have at the top of your mind?
Sure, I'll do a couple.
Great.
So another thing that kind of gets overlooked in terms of SugarCRM, there's a lot of hidden features, and so we have some clients that want to be able to schedule reports, and they don't really realize that all you have to do here is go down to this Run Report, click on the little arrow button, and you can schedule your report. And it runs based off of the Sugar scheduler. So as long as you have your email settings configured and you have people assigned to the report, you can schedule this report, and then it can automatically send itself to whoever is on that report. And so whether it's follow up on cases, follow up on opportunities, follow up on leads, you can automate the scheduling of this report so it sends the appropriate report to the appropriate people. Another interesting feature of Sugar is with the workflows. And so there's been this misconception with Sugar workflows that you actually can't send emails to outside users, and it's definitely doable with the workflow. So as you can see here, this is a pretty common workflow. So you would say, when a quote is close accepted, then what it could do is it can send an alert to a recipient. And the only thing you need to make sure is that the recipient is somewhere in the database. Typically, they would be, a contact related to an account, or it would be an email address, related to the lead record. So that's just a quick, example of something that's a little bit more hidden. A couple of things that are a little bit more hidden in the sales, in the sales process or your workflow process.
Jake, we had one question come in from Andrew, and I put it in the chat box there. Andrew, do you want, if you'd like, I can unmute you and you can ask it to Jake directly, or we can just answer it based on your chat. It's up to you. You can let me know. Chat's fine. Okay. So, Jake, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's the question is, can you run through a basic way for sales reps to mass email a list of leads?
Yeah, so there's two ways to do it. And so when you're looking at a list of leads here, and you have your names, your email address, all that kind of standard stuff. And so you could select individuals and click email. And if you have it connected to Outlook, it'll launch your Outlook. If you don't have it connected to Outlook, if you're using the Sugar email, it'll launch this. So one of the issues of doing this method is that you're literally sending it to all of these people. So you'd either have to send it to yourself and move them to the BCC, or do the other option, which is add them to a target list, which then gets triggered to send, so the marketing person or whoever runs the campaigns, kind of the automated campaigns, that the next time this campaign runs to this target list, then it'll automatically send those emails to those contacts that are on this campaign. So you can do it two ways. The one way to do it individually would just be, like I just showed, to actually click on the email tab here, and that just kind of emails everyone, and everyone's in the two, and you can copy and paste them, move to the BCC, or you can add them to a target list, and what that does is it triggers the next time a campaign goes out. And campaigns allow you also to track click-throughs and touches and whatnot. And so if you want that sort of visibility, then you'd want to probably add them to a target list and make sure they get an email from an actual campaign inside of Sugar. And that way you can see who clicked on everything, who opened stuff, and whatnot. Does that help?
Yeah. Andrew says that helps. Great, thanks, Jake. So we did have another question come in from Doug, and so he says we use MS Outlook as our email client. What's the best way to integrate this into Sugar?
It's a good question. So, unfortunately, I had to close my Outlook because it interferes with GoToMeeting. But so there's two ways to really handle email. Well, actually, three. The first way is just to do it directly inside of Sugar, kind of as I showed earlier. A lot of our clients don't like doing this because they're very used to Outlook, and Outlook is very robust at email. And so you could do it through Sugar if you wanted to, if you had very straightforward requirements. The other option would be to utilize the Sugar Outlook plugin. And what that does is it installs a bunch of options for you. So whenever someone emails inside of Sugar, you can click a Send an Archive button that the plugin installs. So instead of having to copy and paste the email, you can click Send an Archive. And what that does is it'll allow you to look at that email inside of the account record. And what it will do is it'll search the Sugar database for that contact or that email address, and then wherever it finds it, it'll either automatically archive it, or you can select which record you'd want to archive it to. And so you'd have and then one of the great things about the Outlook plugin is that, say you have this email thread and you scroll down below, if you have attachments, you can actually sync those attachments to Sugar, so you can have access to them directly inside of Sugar. So if you wanted to look up that email and you wanted to reference that Excel spreadsheet, you could literally access it directly from within inside of Sugar. The MS Outlook plugin will also sync tasks. It'll sync your contacts, and it'll sync your meeting invites as well. So, and it's bidirectional. So you can either create meetings in Sugar and sync them to Outlook, or you can create the meetings in Outlook and sync them to Sugar. The third option for integrating email with Sugar is a solution called Riva. And so the Sugar Outlook plugin is a plugin that gets installed on the client, the Outlook client itself. So it'll be installed on your home machine, your desktop machine at work, and a couple other machines. Whereas Riva is more of it's a server-side integration, so you don't have to install anything anywhere. So if you're using 7 different machines and you just wanted it to sync with Office 365 or the server, then you can go this route and tie in Riva. That is an added licensing cost. However, the Sugar plugin is free. Does that help?
And then Carol had a follow-up question on the same topic, Jake. She asked, can an email from Outlook be linked to an account in Sugar through the Outlook plugin?
That's correct. So one of the settings in admin that you have is you have the ability to roll up contact emails to the account. So if you want, anytime that a contact is emailed and they're related to the account, that email gets synced into the system, then you can set up that so that if you send it to a contact, it'll go to their contact record and it'll also go to the account.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions or hands raised at all? Otherwise, we can move on to another one of the tips we can kind of show you. Here we go. Does Riva work with Macs? Chrissy was told the Outlook plugin doesn't work with Sugar.
Well, that's a great question, and so it has nothing to do with actually Sugar itself. So Outlook for Mac doesn't allow for plugins, and so whether it's on Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics or what have you, there's no plugin infrastructure for Outlook for Apple or Apple Mail, and so in order to circumvent that, you would have to use something like Riva, because Riva gets installed on your actual server, and it doesn't matter which which desktop you're using or which computer you're using. So that's one of the main advantages and why Riva is so popular, is because if you're like me who has a Mac laptop at home but uses a PC at work, then you need something like this that on the back end that can sync things regardless of what operating system or what computer you're using.
And then there was a follow-up from Doug. Synced email that you just discussed, can this be done after the fact? Does that make sense?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, he said he's got some microphone issues. That's why he's not talking with us. But
well,
let's wait a second for him to maybe respond in this chat.
And there's also just, I guess we could, as a quick tip as well, actually a ton of our clients don't know anything about this. So say you don't want to pay for Riva and the Outlook plugin doesn't work in the web. So if I were to email Jesse, our marketing manager, and I wanted to archive this email to Sugar, I can either CC it or BCC it, but Sugar provides an actual email address as well. So to kind of circumvent the, do we need Macs, do we need a PC, do we need this Riva? Well, an easy way, if all you're trying to do is to archive emails, a great way to do it is just to CC this email address that Sugar provides. And so what that will do is it'll automatically archive the emails to anywhere it finds this email address inside of Sugar. So that's one of another kind of hidden features, and where you'd be able to find that would be if you went to admin inside of Sugar, and there's what's called email archiving. So you literally would just click on that. It's not going to work here because this is a demo instance, but you would just click enable email archiving, and then you'd be good to go. It'll give you the URL, and it kind of explains here, what it all does and where everything goes.
So Doug, Jake, he kind of clarified a little bit. If a user does not archive the email, can the email still be archived after the email was sent? Like, is there any way to do this in a batch mode?
Not that I know of in a batch mode, but if someone were to email you and you wanted to archive that email, I'm in the web version now, but if you want to go back to that email, there's an archive to sugar button. So you don't necessarily have to reply to that person to archive that email inside of Sugar. So if you looked up an email and you wanted to archive it, you could just click on the archive button that the Outlook plugin provides.
And then Carlos was curious about how does email syncing work with a mobile client?
Well, that's another interesting question. And so, from a mobile standpoint, you would either have to have Riva configured, or you would have to be either typing in the email archiving address, or you code it so that you set up your settings in Outlook so that anytime the reps are sending their emails, it automatically archives it from whichever device they're using. Because the email application that you would use on your phone is just the Exchange or the Outlook application that's pre-installed, and those settings will carry over from Outlook to the mobile app.
Okay, so Jake and Kyle, we had two kind of more technical questions just come in, and I'm just going to just throw them out there. One person was asking about the forecasting module, which I understand is a little advanced and might need a follow-up, but then there was also a question learning more about the reporting side of Sugar, like not really a specific question, but just kind of additional insight on reporting. So those were kind of two a little bit more technical.
What's the forecasting question?
It was a request to demo the module.
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably want to circle back on that and do it either at a later date, or if we have more time, it's just kind of involved to do the forecasting module. I can give you a quick little overview of it here. So basically, the way it would work, and this is kind of blank here, but so say Jim is your sales manager, and you have the ability to determine a quota for your whole group, and then a quota for each individual user as well. And so Jim from here can drill down into Sally, you can drill down into Max, Chris, and Will to see what it is that they're forecasting. And they have the ability to kind of drill down, and it can be nested too. So Max could have other people that he's in control of. The forecasting data here appears to be a little blank. So it might not, here we go, here's doesn't look like a quota set up, but still you get the idea that, okay, here's the opportunities that we're forecasting. Here's all the individual stages, here's the close dates, here's all the probabilities and the likelies, and every user's data will roll up into the main forecast. So the idea behind this is that when the manager, the sales manager, is on their dashboard and they wanted to see at any given time how close they are to their quota, you can set up the dashboard so it can either have your team's quota or your individual's quota, and at any given time it'll let you know how close you are, to reaching that quota. And as reps enter opportunities and update that data, this automatically gets refreshed based off of the the scheduling on the dashboard. We can always drill down and go into it more, but maybe we can circle back and do a deeper dive, at a later point, so we can show you what it's all about. And then, yeah. What was the reporting?
Yeah, just kind of talking a little bit about how the reporting functions work. Wasn't really a specific question, but just kind of they were interested in having you kind of talk a bit about it in general.
Yeah, so all right, so here's a list of reports inside of Sugar, and so Sugar will provide you, I believe it's with about 20 or 30, canned reports. Some kind of typical reports, opportunities by status, opportunities by rep, that sort of thing. We want to pull up one right now, show you a couple things. So here's the reporting here's a report that's already been created, and so the way it works is when you're creating a report, you create filters, runtime, either runtime or behind-the-scene filters. Runtime filters mean they allow you to change the filters that you've determined, at any given time, and you can rerun the report. So if all you wanted to see was dead leads, you can rerun this report, rerun this filter here. And so then there's filtering capabilities, and this kind of segments, the database. And then below it is everything relating to the segment. So you see here's this is a report off of leads, and it's leads by status. And so you see here's all the leads as they're grouped by the assigned to user. And so this gives you a snapshot of all the different leads by their statuses. And then below you have the ability to drill down and see all the actual details. So here's Chris's 11 leads that haven't been, that are brand new. And here's 3 that are assigned, and here's 4 that are in process. And so what you can do from here is say, you have this report, and then you wanted to modify it. So you can come back here and click Edit on the report. And what it allows you to do is, for example, it takes you through this wizard here. So you can add filters if you wanted, and again, you can make those runtime. And so if you wanted to add a filter, what you would do is you see all these lists of fields here. So say, for example, you wanted to filter off of leads that were created after a certain point. So you can add that as a filter. So we will only want leads that are created this year. If you want to make that runtime, so you can run the report, change this at any given time, then you check that box. And from there, it takes you through the step-by-step. And define group means how do you want to group this report by? And as I showed you on the chart, it's all for purposes of charting and whatnot, and to display the actual rows and columns in the report. So we're grouping this report by the username, the assigned to user, as well as the status of the lead. So that's how the report breaks down. It breaks it down by user, by status, and then you can add layers to it as well. And then the summaries means, how do you want to summarize this? Do you want to average this out? If you average and summing kind of is more important when it comes to, when you're tracking dollar amounts, like on opportunities and whatnot. But this is saying, how do you want to summarize this? Do you want to group it by the average, deal size, that sort of thing? And then another little trick, which people don't realize, is that if you want to add, the email, if you look at the leads file right here, it doesn't show any email address. No, and so it doesn't show any email address. And so if you wanted to pull in that email address, all you need to do, it's kind of, interesting, but all you have to do is click on the email address there and add it. So this is this is an issue. There's a lot of little quirks about any CRM. This just gives you a feel, okay, you can add all those fields, and then from here, you determine the chart. If you want a vertical, pie, funnel, line, and then you click save and run, and then this report's now run. It adds the leads created after 1/1/2015. Looks like there's only one. So this just gives you an idea. The reporting tool is pretty flexible. You can add filters and layers to it and groupings. And again, like I mentioned before, you can schedule the reports as well. Does that kind of help give you an overview on the reporting?
Did you say that you can schedule them to automatically send to Sugar users?
That's correct. So as long as the people are either on the team that's assigned to the report or there's some users that are on here, then you can schedule these reports, and whatever users are assigned to it will automatically get the report emailed to them based off of this schedule.
One question came in on automatic emails for workflows. Can you send a workflow email to someone who is not a Sugar user, like a contact or a lead?
Yeah, so what you could do there, so when you're doing your workflow, So when the workflow is in process, let's see a good one here. The thing that you need to make clear of is when you're configuring the workflow, the email is under the alerts, and so in order to determine who gets that email, you need to make sure that there's a recipient associated to that, and the recipient needs to be a recipient associated with the related or target module, and then that's the way that you can either add a contact email address or a leads email address and have them automatically associated to it. And Jesse, if there's not any more questions, I could give them a quick overview of the dashboarding in Sugar. But if there's some follow-ups, we can go ahead and field any of those follow-up questions.
Yeah, there's a couple more. Let's see. I was trying to group them as best as possible. Let's see. So Brendan is asking, he's been tasked with creating a report that shows the sales activity on a bi-monthly basis. He'd like to create a report that shows numbers based on leads, calls, conversions, and new opportunities, etc. Brandon, I'm not sure if that was answered or not.
For that particular question, it sounds a little specific, so we probably want to do a little deeper discovery offline to really understand, what the needs are. I think it's all doable, but it'd probably take, time to create that report. But, if you want to send us, we'll definitely reach out to you to talk through that. But if you also want to send us, some snapshots or a mock-up of what you're thinking, we can definitely let you know, how to do it and which route to take.
Yeah, so there's another question here from Carlos. Is there a way to directly add target lists to campaigns with a CSV file?
Yeah, so basically the way you would handle that is you would simply import the CSV into the leads module, and you can add those leads to a target list. Yeah, so you can import leads that way as well. Yeah. And once you create a campaign, you can then just pick the target list that is going to be associated to that campaign.
And one of the things I didn't really touch on, I have one more quick tip, is that if you're looking at a target list, for example, and say you had a report that you created, you did a bunch of filtering on the database, and you wanted all these contacts from this report on a target list. So what you could do is you can go to that target list. Again, this is one of the hidden kind of features. You go here and click Select, and you could select from reports as well. And so if you had, you want to have all these contacts that weren't reached out to between this date and are in this geography, so you can go here, select from the reports, and then you could add all of these contacts from that report really quickly. And so that's another way to really quickly, segment the database and be able to add, a bunch of contacts with a bunch of different criteria to a target list. So that's kind of where Sugar comes in, where some of the marketing tools can't really compete with, because Sugar has all this other data in the system that you have the ability to report on, and you can either do the email blast directly through Sugar, after you've determined the reporting criteria, or you can leverage and say sync these target lists to Constant Contact, and then you don't have to worry about anti-spam laws and things like that inside of Sugar. So that's one of the things to mention about doing emails inside of Sugar versus something like a Constant Contact, is that if you do mass emailing through Sugar, you are doing it through your own email server. And so if Google or Yahoo picks up on that, then there is potential for the company to get blacklisted. I don't think that's necessarily a big deal because most of our clients that do heavy email marketing just tie it into a Constant Contact or a MailChimp anyway, just because they have very rich templates. You know, the marketing people like using it, and the plugins are generally fairly economical.
Or Acton as well.
Yeah, or Acton.
So Jake, there's one more question, and then we can maybe spend, if you feel like, in the last 10 minutes here, we can kind of show Sugar a little bit, if that's enough time. But it was just a basic question on the latest version of the Sugar Outlook plugin. Do you guys happen to know what the latest version is?
Off the top of my head, I'm not aware. We can definitely find that out. Kyle, are you aware?
I don't quite recall about the latest version. I do know that Sugar will be coming out with some nice updates to the Outlook plugin. I think it's within the next quarter or two. So it's going to add a lot of functionality and so on to the plugin.
But we'll, any questions that we haven't answered on this demo or webinar, we'll make sure and follow up and get you the appropriate versions and and instructions and whatnot as well.
Yeah. So with that, that's about it as far as questions that have come in so far. Unless you guys have any other things on your agenda you want to talk about at all, we can jump into a little bit of a short demo.
Yeah. So and Jesse, I'm going to go through just a couple minutes, and if someone asks a question, just stop me.
Sure.
So this is just a dashboard in Sugar, and so with the new version of Sugar 7.5, one of the things that they added was called the activity stream. And so one of the things you could do, for example, is you could be on an account inside of Sugar, and you can, for example, follow an account. You could follow a contact, follow a lead, what have you. And then anytime something is linked to that account, so a call is logged, something is created, this is a call that was logged on the system, you can automatically get that notification in your activity stream. From here, you can come and collaborate, on the issue or on the call or what have you. And so that's another interesting feature that Sugar's added. Most of our clients that, the reps that are using Sugar typically have, task and activity-oriented home screens, and then they'd want to see their list of records, that they're responsible for as well. One of the things that you could do on these dashlets is you can edit them and filter them. So, for example, if you wanted only your new leads in here, then you could filter it based off of that. And so it's you can really slice and dice the data on the home screens and, really hone in on the type of dashlets and dashboards that you want to, to focus on your day-to-day basis. If you wanted to add a dashboard, you would just click on this Add a Row or Add Dashlet, and what that'll do is it'll allow you to select from a list of records, whether it's a saved report, whether it's a list of contacts, inactive tasks, and so forth. So you have the ability to do that, and then that's kind of the home screen in a nutshell. If there's any questions on that, I can address those. If not, I'll just show you a quick account screen. So this is an account screen in Sugar. You basically have a header account. You have, and that's just your main kind of account information, whether it's their website, the type of account they are, the industry, and so forth. And then below you have everything that's related to the account, whether it's their products that they have, calls that are logged, meetings, contacts, tasks, emails that were synced, and so forth. And go ahead. Is there a question?
Yeah, Andrew had a question if there's any plans to be able to add rows and column reports as a dashlet.
Well, you can do that. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to add a dashlet, and then you'd have to add list view, and then you'd have to add reports. And by default, it would have your favorite reports. You can filter it. I believe you can filter it to have rows and columns. Yeah. Here you go. So you can have them, they'll display as a list view. So if you want your rows and columns reports at the top, you know, you can have them here. And then if you wanted to access those reports, you can just click on them.
Andrew says, awesome. Thank you, Jake.
No problem. Glad I can help someone. Anything else?
What about NetSuite? Does Sugar integrate with NetSuite?
Yeah, NetSuite is integrated with Sugar. FabiSG built it, and so what it allows you to do is it syncs your customers from NetSuite to Sugar, or it does it actually bidirectional, and then it brings back your sales history, your inventory, and then it allows you to do quotes in the system and send them to sales orders. And so it allows companies that don't want their sales reps to use NetSuite, to use their accounting system, to give the CRM just enough data so that they can leverage the CRM platform, and the accounting folks will be happy because they don't have to to mess up all their data in the accounting system. So that's kind of, and we do one for QuickBooks, Intact, Sage as well.
Great. So we've got 2 more minutes left with everybody. Why don't we throw it out to you, Jake and Kyle, just kind of summarize why you like Sugar more than the competitors, if you could.
Yeah, definitely. So, so the reason we picked up Sugar, we worked with a lot of different CRMs in the past, and we found Sugar about 5 years ago. And of course, the price point compared to the competitors is amazing, but we also like how flexible the CRM solution is. And so we really think that Sugar packs the most value for the cost, and the flexibility is also bar none. And so, from my standpoint also, I think that generally speaking, a lot of companies like working with, mid-sized companies like Sugar as opposed to huge enterprises like Microsoft and Salesforce as well. That's kind of, my view in a nutshell. Kyle, what would you think?
Yeah, and I definitely want to stress the flexibility of Sugar as one of its greatest selling points. Of course, Sugar comes with a studio tool that lets you add new custom fields, relabel things, adjust layouts, and that's great. And if you need to do more advanced stuff with highly custom workflows or system integrations and so on, Sugar being open source for development is really fantastic in that regard, because it makes it so much easier to customize as opposed to other CRM solutions which are closed source and using proprietary technologies. So it makes Sugar a lot better to work with.
All right, great. Thanks, guys. Looks like we've kind of come up to the end of our session today. Jake and Kyle, really appreciate your expertise, and everyone on the call, just so you know, we're going to be doing our next fireside chat will be on April 30th. But if anybody is at SugarCon and you'd like to speak with myself or Jake, we will be there at our booth all day long. So come and pay us a visit. And until next time, Jake, Kyle, everybody, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your week.